Freedom of Religion or Belief Learning Platform, our mission is to provide courses, resources, and networking opportunities to help organizations like Search for Common Ground, faith communities, decision makers, academics, all kinds of target audiences to learn about freedom of religion or belief and find the tools they need to educate and advocate. So, what do we have to offer? Well, you saw a little bit in the film. We have got these 4 resources that are suitable for any kind of audience, really. An introductory course for freedom of religion or belief for all, an online on-demand short course on FORB and gender, explainer films on freedom of religion or belief in over 20 languages. For example, there's a film that explains limitations to freedom of religion or belief and when those are legitimate or not legitimate, how you can make that assessment. We've also got explainer films on access to justice, on religious literacy, and on freedom of religion or belief context analysis, with a couple of different tools to use for context analysis. And these kinds of resources are actually great for staff training. For people who come into the organization, maybe are new to the issues, they're a really good starting point. So that's one tip. I just wanted to share this screen with you. This is the list of languages which we have our films in at the moment, and it keeps getting longer. But it might be interesting to some of you to see that films are available in your languages. When it comes to what we offer for trainers, we've got 4 different things on offer. One is our freedom of religion or belief training of the trainers course, which I know some of you have taken, I believe. And then we have the Local Changemakers course, which is a ready-made training curriculum for the grassroots level, ready to roll out. And then the third one, which has not been published just yet, which I'm working hard on at the moment, is the Freedom of Religion or Belief Facilitators Toolkit, which is a collection of 70 exercises for a more varied kinds of audience, just not only the grassroots level, but also decision makers, for example. That might be something that's useful for you when we publish it. So keep an eye out for that launch event. And then we have regional networks for trainers in Sub-Saharan Africa, which is coordinated by PROCMURA, the Programme for Christian-Muslim Relations in Africa, and in the Middle East, which is coordinated by the Adyan Foundation in Lebanon, who also run our FORB training of the trainers course in Arabic twice a year. So those are the kind of learning resources and opportunities that we have available at the moment. So I'd like to share a bit more about the Local Changemakers course, which I hope will be a useful resource to you. The course is a set of downloadable course materials that provide everything a competent facilitator needs to run a series of 9 face-to-face workshops on freedom of religion or belief at the grassroots level. And as far as we're aware, this is the first comprehensive FORB curriculum published for grassroots level audiences. The materials are free to download and use and adapt in any way you find helpful. So either running the course in full or just picking and choosing the exercises you like the best to include in your existing programs, depending on what target audience you have. You can find everything on our website on the link at the bottom of this slide. And at the moment, the course is available in English, French, Arabic, and Urdu. But thanks, and a big thanks, to support from Search for Common Ground, we're going to be publishing in Russian, Bengali, Sinhala, and Tamil next year. So we're looking forward to that. We also hope to have more languages in future. We know that there are partner organizations who would like us to publish in additional languages, not least in Asia. And our approach to translation, you saw the list of 21 languages that we have our films in. We firmly believe that resources that are intended for the grassroots level are only accessible if they are accessible in the languages that are spoken at the grassroots level. So translation is a really important element of what we are trying to do. So the course has 4 aims. Firstly, to enable communities to recognize and appreciate diversity. Secondly, to help communities understand and value human rights broadly and freedom of religion or belief for all specifically. Thirdly, to identify problems for freedom of religion or belief in the community. And finally, to find ways to tackle those problems together. The course is designed for people who are concerned about the problems related to freedom of religion or belief in their local community and want to find ways to make a difference. It requires no previous knowledge, experience, or even acceptance of human rights from participants. What is needed is an open mind and an interest in helping to build communities that are characterized by peace and equality. When we began the writing process, we developed a set of characters that we imagined might participate in the course. For example, a mother from a religious majority community in Asia who's worried about her son getting involved in acts of hate towards minorities. Rural young woman in Africa who's concerned about religious justifications being used for gender-based violence in her community. And thirdly, a minority young man in the Middle East or in Europe who's frustrated by the discrimination his community faces and wants to make a difference, but fears that his efforts will come to nothing. And when we imagined our participants, we made the following assumptions. Firstly, not everybody is literate. Secondly, most participants know little about human rights, and some of them may have objections to human rights. Thirdly, faith-based identities, traditions, and beliefs are important to most participants. Fourthly, freedom of religion or belief is a very sensitive topic, and some participants might have painful experiences of the right or the lack of the right violation. And finally, everyone everywhere has prejudices, and consciously or unconsciously, and we can only overcome them by recognizing and reflecting on them. So, this is how we envisaged who the participants in this course targeting the grassroots level might be. So, on to methodologies. Based on this understanding of the potential participants, we have tried to bring together peace building, interfaith dialogue, and human rights based approaches. And at the FORB Learning Platform, we firmly believe that these three approaches belong together. And we've chosen a methodology that's based on interactive experiential learning, using exercises that actively draw on participants' life experiences and contexts and encourage personal reflection. For example, the session introducing human rights begins with a practical exercise that helps participants reflect on what they need in order to have a dignified life. It connects human dignity to human needs to human rights, and human rights to human responsibilities, helping participants to recognize that human rights are actually important to them in their daily lives. The course includes 9 2-hour sessions, and it's structured in 2 parts. Part 1, which is the first 5 sessions, focuses on developing knowledge and attitudes so that our heads and our hearts are ready to become FORB changemakers. Participants learn about and explore their attitudes towards human rights and freedom of religion or belief in particular, and reflect on their attitudes towards people whose identities differ from their own. They also learn how to conduct a community level FORB context analysis. In part 2, which is sessions 6 to 9, participants learn about a range of tactics or methods that can be used to promote FORB and other rights, and are guided through a process of action planning for a FORB problem they identify. So these sessions focus on skills and action. So the course altogether includes the 4 building blocks of human rights education: knowledge, attitude, skills, and action. So, who can facilitate the course? Well, our aim has been to make the resources as easy to use and comprehensive as possible so that any competent group leader and facilitator can pick up the materials, prepare themselves, and run the course. And we believe that if awareness raising at the grassroots level on freedom of religion or belief is going to be scaled up and popularized, this is really essential. So you don't need to be knowledgeable about human rights or about freedom of religion or belief to facilitate the course. Everything the facilitator needs is provided. And the facilitator's role is not to be an expert, but to guide participants through a process in which they and the participants learn together. And what the facilitator does, however, need is sensitivity to the context, the ability to judge if some issues are just too sensitive or dangerous to discuss, and to adapt the process accordingly, and to handle group dynamics when sensitivities or tensions arise. So, facilitation skills and contextual knowledge. We developed the course with an international interfaith reference group of 10 people, and 4 of those people helped us to test the course. And I'd like to just share a few stories from the test phase that really encouraged me. So on the slide here, you can see Hidayah Dude, who works for Zanzibar Interfaith Center, and she ran the course on Zanzibar, which is a Muslim majority island in Tanzania. And one of her participants is the leader of a local girls' club. And at the end of the course, this young woman told Hidayah that she wanted to run the Changemakers course herself with her girls' group. Now, for me, having developed the course, hearing that a regular girls' club leader on Zanzibar thinks that she can run the course herself made me really happy, because that means that we've succeeded in making the course easy to run and accessible for grassroots level group leaders. In Jordan, the participants actually found that the 2-hour sessions were too short because there was so much to discuss and reflect on. And this group of Sunni Muslims, Christians, Zoroastrians, and Baha'is felt that because the issues are so sensitive, they never normally get the opportunity to talk about them, and particularly between faith communities. So they really valued that opportunity. In India, the Center for the Study of Society and Secularism ran the course with a group of Muslims, Hindus, and atheists, and has since gone on to train their staff across the country in running the course to be able to roll it out more broadly. So, what's the course like? Well, I'd say it's fun. It includes a lot of variety. There are group exercises, drawing exercises, drama and role play exercises, discussions, storytelling, energizers, and evaluation exercises. There's actually about 30 exercises in all. And the course materials actually comprise a whole package of documents, including a facilitator's guide, presentation scripts, PowerPoints, posters, game cards, handouts, course certificate, everything you need to run the course. And everything is designed to be easy to print out and photocopy in black and white or in color to try and make it as easy as possible for people. So the second part of the course, if I click down, is focused on action planning. There's 2 sessions, sessions 6 and 7, which help participants explore 15 different tactics for promoting rights at the grassroots level. And these are in 4 categories. So the ones that are orange that you can see here, these are called the emergency tactics. Something very immediate is happening. A girl is being subject to hate speech on the bus right now, or there's a mob gathering outside a minority place of worship. But something very immediate that's happening now. How do we prevent such things happening? How do we stop them from happening and save the people who are facing them? How do we call for help and warn people when we're not actually able to stop it from happening ourselves? So emergency tactics. Then we have what we call change tactics, and these are the kind of greeny blue color in the top right corner there. Campaigning, advocacy, providing incentives for changed behavior, and defiance, defying regulations that violate human rights or social norms that violate human rights. So those are the change tactics. Then we have what we call the building tactics in the bottom left purple corner, raising awareness, building engagement, building skills for creating change, and building networks to create change. So those are the building tactics. And then in the grey corner, bottom right, we have the healing tactics. Tactics to support people who have been affected by violations. So that is psychosocial support. It could be material support, but the whole kind of support system for people who are victims of preventing violations, seeking justice for people affected by violations, and commemorating and highlighting violations that have taken place in the past. So these are our kind of 4 categories of tactics: emergency tactics, change tactics, building tactics, and healing tactics. There's a presentation that introduces these tactics to people using the metaphor of fire and how we tackle fires to make it very relatable and easy to remember. That's kind of ready-made presentation and PowerPoint. And then there's a set of about 40 posters which explain each of the tactics in more detail and also provide stories of people using those tactics. Each of those tactics, there's at least one story of people using the tactics to promote freedom of religion or belief in their communities. And I think these posters are actually a really useful tool to help both people and organizations to think about strategies and ideas for action to help them brainstorm and think about what they can do. So, yes, the last 2 sessions in the course help participants to learn how to use a very simple visual action planning tool. And you may be wondering what the letters A, B, and R are underneath the problem here or up in the top right corner there. And they stand for the attitudes, behaviors, and rules that are a problem. What are the attitudes, the behaviors, and the rules that are the problem? And then in the top right corner, you have, okay, well, what attitudes, behaviors, and rules do we want to see instead as our goal? Yeah. So there's this very simple action planning tool available. And actually that tool it's not just useful for grassroots level. You can use it usefully with any kind of action planning. And these action planning focus sessions have also been exciting when the course has been tested. In Nigeria, participants became really fired up to make a difference. And they had the sessions began actually with them feeling somewhat sorrowful about about the way in which they had, up to that point, been bystanders looking on injustices without trying to make a difference. And they expressed that they felt quite convicted and wanted to do something to make a difference. So they actually formed a group to monitor violations in their city and raise awareness, for example, going into schools to run some of the exercises from the course. So it's exciting to see what people can do as a result of the course.